Okay, officially welcome everybody. Happy New Year 2022. And welcome to the first coffee club of the year. Hopefully the first of many. It's great to see your faces here. Thank you for joining me as we are just getting started. In the chat, let me know how you're doing today, what's coming up for you. How's the new year treating you? Would love to know. And as you are sharing some of that in the chat, I'll first share with you that I'm doing pretty well. I'm feeling pretty fresh today. Emotionally, I would say I'm in a neutral place, trending towards excited to kick things off with you right now. And I also thought I would share what the structure of today's coffee club would be. And it's very simple. First, we're just going to get ourselves warmed up here by sharing in the chat. Then I wanted to share some thoughts that I've been having, which are going to be a big reminder from what we have been discussing over the last 12 months, last year specifically, and then how I intend to continue to push and work with this discussion going forward in this year, and how you can benefit from it within the community that we're in here. And then we'll also have a little bit of a dialogue and maybe connect on a few topics, whatever seems to be relevant, which as I'm going, if anything comes up that you want to talk about or discuss or would like to dive a little bit deeper into in the chat, make sure that you share that. Okay, it seems like Kristen is doing very well. Marilena is also doing well. Glad to be here. I'm glad to be here too. Kay is excited to be here. And James, good to have you here. Feeling really good, refreshed after Christmas break. Fantastic. Who here feels refreshed and who feels like they went through an intensive workout? Because sometimes the holidays are more tiring than rejuvenating or nourishing. And although you may spend time with family and friends, it can be exhausting as it does require some effort to be joyful on command. So let me know in the chat if you're feeling rejuvenated after the holidays or a little beat up. Kay said, I did wake up this morning with my first cold of 2022. Hello. Well, if it makes you feel any better, I got a cold, I think, or who knows, Omicron, December 16th, and still to this day, I've been coughing. So who knows what we got, but it sounds like this new variant Omicron is a friend and not an enemy. Now, hopefully the psychosis of the world starts to subside and we can maybe start to chill out a little bit and make better decisions, not only for ourselves, but for others. Anyways, I hope you heal up quickly, Kay, and that it's a speedy recovery and that it gives you hyper immunity to whatever it is to come. Okay, welcome everybody. Thank you for being here officially now getting started. Thank you for sharing where you are and how you're doing. And to the topic that we have been covering in 2021 and we will continue to cover in 2022, which is emotional fitness. And a reminder for everybody, emotional fitness is our ability to move into a state of being that translates into purposeful action. So what does this mean? This means that our capacity to change the way that we are experiencing the world is part of our fitness. And to do this in a way that translates, creates purposeful action means that one is aware, one is intentional, moreover, that one in that moment understands. So I want to continue the discussion around emotional fitness because I believe that emotional fitness is something that has been highlighted for us over the last 2 years since the pandemic started. And it's something that we are not only lacking, but we are very fragile in that space. And what does this mean? This means that um, our emotional bandwidth is not only narrow because we have so much going on, but it's also fragile, meaning that it's very sensitive, meaning that when it is nudged or stressed, it can just crumble, disintegrate. And one of my objectives for 2022 is to myself and with those who I work is to help nourish a more robust emotional fitness practice and thus produce an experience of life that feels more resilient, that feels more joyful, that feels lighter, more flexible, more able, more connected, more complete, which is more whole and ultimately more um, not more healthier. You can't say more healthier, can you? You could, but I guess it's incorrect. Anyways, to produce a healthier life. And ultimately, a healthier life is a life that feels healthy. So I would like to just pose that question right now is, do you feel healthy? And you don't even have to answer this question right now. I just want you to think about it. And in terms of how I intend to discuss emotional fitness going into 2022 is by breaking it down into different areas. One of those areas being our physical bodies. And right now I'm preaching to the choir, of course, but our physical bodies are the vehicle that we use to experience this world and to create that which we want to see in this world. So being able to lean on our physical selves is going to be key. Now, I know that every single one of you here has a physical practice. The question is that physical practice, in addition to making you more physically robust, is it making you more emotionally robust? Are you developing a wider bandwidth capacity for handling your emotions and transforming them into purposeful action? And this is an important question to ask ourselves. And a simple example of this is for me, for example, when I'm training, I do not enjoy squatting heavy. I just don't. I don't like to have a barbell on my back, and I do not like to squat. I don't like it, but I know it's important. Now, why don't I like it? Well, because when I squat, I feel weak. When I feel weak, I start to have negative thoughts. When I begin to have negative thoughts, I start to spiral into every single event in my life or everything that in this moment is fragile. And when I feel like I am fragile, I don't feel worthy, I don't feel capable, I don't feel fit. And that's one of the reasons I don't like squatting. That being said, I am mentally able to reframe and repurpose that fragility into positive outcomes. Thus, I choose to squat in a way that allows me to squat, first and foremost, safely. Second of all, in a way that is effective and efficient. Third of all, in a way that produces enough stimulus to shift not only my body, but also my mind and thus my emotions in the direction that I truly want to go. And what direction is that? Well, it's the direction of health, completeness. So this is an example of becoming conscious of our physical practice in a way that elicits emotional fitness. In addition to the physical body, I want to talk about, of course, our feelings, our emotions, and our feelings and our emotions translate into something practical through meaning. So it's finding meaning in that which we do. And this is something that I believe is that us as human beings, we are meaning-making machines. What does this mean? Well, it means simply that we get to create our own reality. So the question is, what reality do you want to create? Yesterday, I was working in my yard, in the front yard. I was laying out some pavers, making it look nice, making it feel good. And there was a runner on the other side of the street running by. And he crossed paths with a gentleman, and I assume his daughter. They were holding hands. And the runner, I think he either coughed or he spit or something on the side of the road. And the gentleman that was with his daughter flipped out, completely lost his mind, and attacked, or at least it seemed like an attack, which was probably a defense mechanism, attacked the runner and said, "Don't you realize we're in a pandemic? We're in the fourth wave, that this is the worst it's ever been, and you're out here running with no mask and spitting or coughing or whatever it is that you're doing." And as I was looking at this interaction, I just thought, where have we come? Where are we right now as a society? How is it that we are so hostile against each other or towards each other? And where does it come from? Well, it comes from meaning. We have assigned meaning to the reality that we currently live in, according to that which we have been influenced by, and by how much we have been willing to participate in a conscious process for arriving at some conclusions, and thus expressing ourselves through those conclusions. If I am to assume positive intent in both the two gentlemen who interacted yesterday, one, whether he was coughing or spit, I don't know what he was doing exactly, but he definitely expelled something. Okay, something came out of his mouth, and he didn't have a mask on, which clearly bothered this gentleman. But I could see that they were more than 6 feet apart, following the made-up rules that have some backing, of course, but nonetheless, made up, arbitrary. If I were to assume positive intent, the positive intent of the runner was he's out there working on his body, getting healthy. And he happened to cough, spit, spray, whatever he did, expel some bodily fluids in the vicinity of this gentleman. Was he aware of him doing that? Was he doing it on purpose? Probably not. The gentleman with his daughter, of course, was defending himself, felt attacked, felt unsafe, thus reacted in the way that he did, insulting the man, yelling at him, even when he was far away and already had passed by, yelling at him. And I could see that he walked away upset. And I know for a fact, because I saw the runner's face, that he also was upset. At first, he had this face where he looked a little angry, and then he was just shaking his head, and then just kind of rubbed his head, kind of like saying, what just happened? What was that interaction? Regardless, that interaction was an interaction that was very uncomfortable, and in terms of productivity, produced nothing but more fear, more discomfort, more dissonance. And I'm not saying they should have stopped and talked about the state of affairs and what's right, what's wrong, and how he intends, or both of them intend, to proceed in the future. I'm not saying that, but it's a moment in time that is happens in a split second that highlights where we are as a society. And that interaction, that moment, was clearly a very unhealthy moment. In addition to this, now that everybody is getting infected with Omicron, and the wave is bigger than ever, something has happened. And what has happened is that more people than ever feel safe to share that they have COVID. Because up until this moment, most people who got COVID were ashamed of being infected with COVID. Because one of the narratives is that if you are not isolating, if you are not socially distancing, if you don't get the vaccine, if you don't wear a mask, if you don't do these things, you're not being socially responsible and thus killing other people. There is truth to it. But holy shit, are we capable of holding that kind of responsibility when so much is out of our control? That's a lot. And I share this not because I disagree with what has been asked, but rather because it has changed us. We are no longer who we were before this whole thing started. And this, regardless of your point of view or the way that you are proceeding through the pandemic, has brought to you in your life a massive change. And with that massive change, something has died, something has gone away. And the question is, how much of that do you want to bring back? And how much of that do you want to let go of? And how is whatever you're letting go of or bringing back affecting your health and thus the health of others? Here lies the meaning. And I simply am here to encourage us all to look at how we have assigned meaning to how we express ourselves and thus how we feel and how we think and how we are physically, and realize that we can always change it if we so decide to choose to change it. And this leads to the next area around the conversation of emotional fitness, which is our relationships. It is building relationships that are conducive for growth. One of the first things that you learn if you study ecology, which is the study of homes, communities, is that diversity leads to health. And right now, I want you to ask yourself, how diverse is your circle? How diverse in thinking, in perspective is your circle? How diverse in behavior is your circle? And how are you able to connect with that diversity? How do you bring value to that community? When you start to simply become aware of this, your relationships with others and with yourself begin to evolve. And I'm just going to leave it at that for now, as this can get very complicated. But relationships, so very important. A little aside, I was in Spain over the holidays visiting family. I hadn't seen my family and some of them in 2.5 years. So it was great to connect with them. And it didn't take long before the old dynamics amongst siblings and with our parents started to come to the surface. And one of those dynamics is that I am the middle child, always seeking attention. I realize I turn into the kid I used to be, and being silly and saying things that provoke a reaction in others. My older sister is she's a helper, so and she's the first child. So if my mother alluded to wanting or needing something, my sister would be there first in line, and not just doing it at a standard level, but she would go 10x above and beyond what was asked. And we got to the point where there was a dynamic where my older sister was a little upset that she was doing more than the other siblings. And of course, we were able to, as grown adults, talk about this. And we arrived at the conclusion that we all choose to participate in whatever way we truly want and need. And my sister's nature is one of helping others first, making sure that everybody's needs are met. And when thinking about it this way, she realized, and we all realized, that she wouldn't want to have it any other way. She wants to be there to help. She wants to jump up, but it's something that she needs in addition to just her action, just being who she is. And that is being seen, being supported, maybe even just being asked, do you need some assistance in this process? Just that, being seen, being heard is enough. But the bottom line is living in that which is your power, living in that which is your nature. So my question here in terms of our relationships, and this, remember, is a little bit of an aside, is are you living in your power within your relationships? Are you true to your instincts, to your nature? And if so, how is that manifesting? In addition, how is that being seen, if it is being seen, by others? How is it being experienced by others? And when noticing that, how does that make you feel? Does it make you feel more full or more depleted? The other area I would like to talk about is time. How do we manage our time? How do we administer ourselves through time? How do we experience time? And this is something that I got to think about a lot over the holidays because I started going through old family albums. I was looking at old pictures, and there's so much of what was alive 40 years ago for me today, but there's so much that has come and gone. Looks, behaviors, friendships, places. And as I was looking at these family albums, I started thinking how that which happened 30, 40 years ago feels like it happened this morning. In my mind, it is right there. It is present. And it makes me think about the future and realizing that all of a sudden, hopefully, I'll be 120 and dying. And when I'm dying and I'm looking back at my memories, at my mental family albums, how am I going to experience the past? Well, I don't know, but I hope to experience it in a way where I can say with certainty that I took full responsibility throughout the whole process. And when I noticed that which was not leading me to health, emotional fitness, that I was vulnerable enough, capable enough, strong enough to make the slight changes, the subtle changes that need to be made in order to get me just a click closer to that which I need, that which I want to feel and experience. And this happens through time management. How well are we managing our time? How are we experiencing our time? What's our relationship to time? How are we physically experiencing time? Time is where everything is unfolding in a progression. It's kind of like the knot in a bow tie. So I intend to discuss time with you in interesting, fun ways, and hopefully in ways that are all practical, that lead to practices that can be conducive for growth. And this segues into another area I would like to talk about when it comes to emotional fitness, which is career, our craft, and our mission within our craft. A lot of you have either had personal coaching with me or gone through the interface, and you've written a mission statement, a purpose statement. My suggestion is that you go back and look at that purpose statement, that mission statement, and tweak it if it needs to be tweaked. But ask yourself, am I in coherence, in alignment with what I said I was going to do? And to remember that when you wrote that mission statement, that purpose statement, you were feeling something. I want you to remember what you were feeling. And I want us to start to become emotionally engaged with that which we do. And remember that being emotionally engaged doesn't mean that you have to be in a state of a heightened emotion. It can be a subtle emotion. But I want it to be emotional because the emotion is the lens through which we see the world. What does this mean? This means that just because we are focusing on our career or on managing our time, that we don't become a heartless, senseless robot in the process. That we're not just a machine, but that we are what we are, which are these meaning-making machines that have feelings. And these feelings being that which define our experience. Another area I want to talk about is resources and money. I want to talk about our finances. And our finances being that which we can utilize to move, exchange value, to exchange resources, to direct them in a way that are going to produce something. So we're going to talk about economy a lot. And here's the truth. I know very little about economics. But I spent my whole life thinking about resources, physical resources, mental resources, emotional resources. And all those manifesting themselves in a lifestyle. So I want to talk about economy. I want to talk about finances. And then finally, I want to address emotional fitness through our contributions. Our contributions to ourselves, our contributions to our families, our contribution to our friends, to our communities, to our towns, our cities, our states, our countries. And I want us to become aware of our contribution. Because it's within our contribution where we can start to learn more about who we truly are. And this comes back to our physical bodies, how we physically express ourselves in this world. So why is this all important? Well, because as I said, at the moment, I believe we are living in a pretty fragile state of being, a pretty fragile state of mind. And the goal is, in the words of Nassim Taleb, to become anti-fragile, more robust, to allow the stressors that we experience to, rather than making us weaker, softer, to make us more resilient, more robust, more able. And whatever robustness means to you, I want you to translate into something that when you're experiencing it feels right. And this goes back to what I've been saying over and over again, which is when things feel right in your head and your heart and your gut, meaning in that which is logical, that which is emotional, and that which is physical, then and only then will you begin to trend in the right direction. And the right direction is not a direction of righteousness where you believe that you're right, but where you experience what being right is. And the experience of being right is one that manifests itself in our bodies as health. So what are some obstacles that we're facing? Number one, I believe sensitivity. We are all very sensitive at the moment. My goal is not to desensitize, but to make that sensitivity something that we can enjoy, that can direct us. We don't just want to be sensitive, we want to be sensible. What is sensible? Sensible is somebody who's able to make sense of something. In other words, somebody who's able to understand. And how do we understand? Well, we understand by listening. We understand by contrasting, comparing, by stress testing, and coming to conclusions that when we put them into play, show us what is true. So it's moving from being hypersensitive to becoming sensitive enough that it allows us to become sensible. With this, the next obstacle that we face is mental confusion. We are bombarded with information, constantly changing narratives, especially if you're listening to the media, mainstream media. What is happening? What is true? And in order to get over the mental confusion, we need to start exercising full responsibility. Now, we can't exercise responsibility in every area of expertise because there's not enough time. So the question is, where are you going to invest your time in developing a full, deep understanding? And who are you going to surround yourself by that is diving into a different area, a diverse area of expertise that is able to curate that understanding and share it with you in a way that helps you get a bigger picture, a more clear picture? Do you see how this starts to relate back to relationships, meaning, career, mission? And this is going to require having a practice. And what is this practice going to be? Well, it's going to be a practice of, first and foremost, recognition. Recognizing who you are in this world, how you express yourself, how you're projecting yourself, and how you're allowing the projections of others to influence you. And to realize that when you are recognizing, relearning, you are moving from being unaware to slightly more aware. And in this enlightenment, if you want to call it that, in this process of becoming a little bit more aware that there are certain patterns that you obey by, certain conditioning that you obey by. And that conditioning producing two things. One, desired results. Two, undesired results. And you have the ability the choice to change those patterns. And that being that which is going to produce a 2022 that can be significantly beneficial, not only for you, but for everybody around you. So that's what we're going to be doing this year. And the way that we're going to be doing it is in various forms. One, I'm going to be hosting these coffee clubs, and we're going to continue to have discussions around various topics. I know today I'm doing more of a monologue, but it's just the first one, and it's the one that's just setting the table for the year. So when you go into the Insider Circle platform, on the left-hand side, you'll see a menu. And on that menu, at the very bottom, are the live events. Under the live events, you have Coffee Club. That's what we're doing here. And Coffee Club, I'll be announcing sporadically as we go through the year. And I'm going to try to make it a little bit more diverse in schedule so more people can participate and we can get more voices in. The other thing that you'll see there is that we used to have workshops. It still says workshops, but that is going to turn into live talks or lectures. I haven't decided yet what I'm going to call it, but my intention is to put together 10 to 12 lectures for this year that can shed light on everything that I shared today about the different areas of emotional fitness and how you can use them to apply them to your practice. In addition to that, we have the guided journaling. Anytime you want to do that, you can always go back to doing it. And anybody who's in the group that hasn't gone through the guided journaling can always access it there. Now, if there's somebody here who hasn't done the guided journaling and is interested in doing it and having a cohort, a group of people, all you have to do is to share that in the group, and I'll put together a group of people so that you can do it together. And where do you find this? Well, you'll find this in the Q&A section, which is under the main menu. And in that Q&A section, my suggestion is that as you continue to venture through the world, whether it's through your physical practice, through your career, or just through your thinking, that you can come to that Q&A section and start to ask questions. And these questions, anybody who's in the community can feel free to, in the comments, begin to engage. And wherever I see that there is some fire, I will start to gravitate towards that and bring it up in future coffee clubs. And that's it. It's as simple as that. And as the year goes on, I will support these lectures, these coffee clubs, and these questions that come up with adding maybe a little bit more to certain areas that you can find within the group, which is the movement practice or stuff that's happening outside of the Insider Circle, like the Interface 4-week experience that most of you who are here have gone through. And other initiatives that I'm thinking about, and I'll share in the future when there's a little bit more clarity in what those are and how you can engage with them. Yeah, so that's 2022 in a nutshell. That's the intention behind emotional fitness. And because we still have some time here, I would love to hear from you. And I would love to hear what is coming up for you. How do you intend to show up in this group? And if you have any questions or anything that you would like for us to discuss today, or something that is bothering you or worrying you or has been on your mind that you would like to just get off your chest, this is your space to do that. And I know that that may be hard for some of you, but if you feel like you are in the right place of mind and being, the floor is yours. Let's see who's here. I see Kyle. I see James. I see Guy, Maya, Madalena, Kay, Kristen.
I'll go.
Please. Hi, Maya.
I started really thinking about 2022 probably a month before we got to January 1st, and really reviewing everything from the last year. And a lot of it was all the amazing conversations that we had in the coffee clubs. And so I have been even more intentional in all my actions and my focus, hyper. So actually in the last 5 weeks. And so I'm rather excited about 2022.
That's awesome. Yeah, thank you, Maya. Do you have any specific goals that you would feel comfortable sharing? Any objectives? Any specific intentions?
The biggest goal, well, two really big goals actually. The first one being finishing the book that I'm writing, The Longest Layover, and having it actually to the publisher by the end of March. And then actually putting down roots in Austin, where I've just moved to. So doesn't mean I won't travel still as much, but really I have this visualization this year of roots and reach are the two words that are inspiring me. So putting down really strong roots, which then build a strong foundation, and then reach so that all the projects that I'm working on are in alignment with my values and beliefs and my why statement and every thread of everything that I do. So
amazing. First and foremost, I love the title, The Longest Layover, and it really makes sense knowing your story. And I know a lot of people here maybe don't know your story, but hopefully they can read about it when the book comes out, or you can share about it in future coffee clubs.
It's all about airports.
I love it. And my biggest encouragement is no matter what happens, finish the book, complete the project. Complete the project and just make that your most important commitment of the year.
It really is. It truly, truly is.
Because you really deserve to feel that sense of completion. It's been a long time coming.
It's been it really has been the longest layover.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got this. I support you, and I know that everybody here supports you. And the fact that you said it out loud makes it that much more of a reality. Finish the book. Finish the book. Yeah, get that thing out. Great. Congrats, Maya. Anybody else feeling anything that they would like to share, or any thoughts that came up while I was sharing some of my thinking?
I'll jump in or chime in.
Come on, James.
Economy.
Yes.
Obviously, after our last talk, you touched on it, and then I started having a little bit of a look into things, and then obviously blogs, social media. You're hit with a lot of information how things are changing. I think that's going to be huge for all of us here. To get more of an insight on what's happening, where you can change from what you know. A lot of us are set in our ways, or follow your sort of current environment, but trying to keep current and change with the times, I think would be really beneficial to share some information on that for all of us.
Yeah, it's a big one. Something that I've learned over the years is that when your financial, like the money economy of your life, is purely based on your exchange of time and not value, only time, then you begin to restrict your ability to move. You become rigid, and that rigidity can produce fragility. So one of the things that I would encourage every single person here, and I'm as I'm saying this to you, I'm saying it to myself, is that in 2022, we begin to think about our economy as an exchange of value, and that the more effective and efficient the exchange of value becomes in regards to time and effort, the more financially healthy we become, or the more cash flow we can produce, the more resources we can bring in and transact with. So it's looking for in your life, where do you have more bandwidth in the exchange of value? I'm thinking right now, just an example, okay? Maya, she is writing a book. A book can be a very lucrative project. It can be. But if you look at it statistically, it's usually something that comes out as a loss. It costs you money. That being said, a book serves as a ticket, as a boarding pass to a new journey, to another journey. And the question is, what is that journey? Well, sometimes it's as simple as a calling card. People find your book, they read some of it, it resonates, and they're like, oh, this person is interesting. I would like to talk to them. I'll bring them on my podcast, or I'll invite them in to speak, or I'll seek out their services or their products or whatever it may be. And there, now you're starting to generate an exchange of value. So really important that you think about this. And this is not just from a book perspective, but also from, I'm thinking about Marilena, who, if I may, one of her goals is to be a teacher within the movement space, within the fitness space, become a coach. At first, being a coach is going to cost you money. You're going to have to invest in becoming a coach. But once you get that ticket, you become the coach, now it starts to deliver you to new places. And I know for you, James, you have been in the process of becoming a coach, and you are juggling 2 careers at once. And one of your goals is to become a full-time coach. How do you get there? Well, first of all, you have to invest your time, your effort, your energy, but you have to find that which becomes the vehicle for broadening that bandwidth, for opening up that bandwidth. And that's a challenging thing to do because it's different for every single person, because every single person is on a slightly different journey. And that's part of the conversation that I would love to have in the future with all of you, and sharing some of that which I've learned, and some of that which I've experienced personally, and some of that which I'm also seeing in the people I'm working with who come from very different places. Some are producers, they make movies and shows. Some are writers, some are artists, some are coaches. Some are engineers, some are designers that create products. Some are purely business people, if you want to call it that, people who sell things. They're in sales. Maybe they focus on wholesale, or they have a retail store. And every single person is fighting with the same challenges. They just are trying to figure out where they are in the process, where they want to go, and how they can best maneuver through that progression. And I would love to share a lot of examples of this, and hopefully some of those will resonate with you. And this is where the Q&A section comes into play, where I encourage Omicron. I encourage I encourage you to ask mechanical questions. Hey, I'm writing a book. How do I get more sales? Hey, do you think it should be on Amazon first, or should I try to sell it through my personal store? Should I self-publish? Should I try to find a publishing house? How do I do that? I want to start creating content. What content should I create? How should I create it? Where should I create it? When should I post? Ask mechanical questions. Hey, I'm trying to learn how to do a handstand. How do I do the handstand? I'm trying to coach a handstand. This is what I found. Hey, I'm interested in cryptocurrencies. How do I get into it? Do you know anybody who knows about cryptocurrencies? What's an NFT? What's the blockchain? Why should I care? Where should I invest some of my time right now in terms of developing myself? Ask those questions. I may not have the answer, but a lot of people here may have something to add. And wherever the fire is, that's where we can all gather. And that's what becomes the coffee club. So I encourage you to share in the Q&A section whatever is coming up for you, and to allow that to lead the conversation. That's what a community is all about. Hopefully that brings some clarity to you, James, in terms of what I hope to do in regards to what you were sharing.
Yeah, no, I look forward to being along with the coffee club. And my second thing was the engagement with the community. Something I'm trying to do more with athletes in my gym, and then even here. I suppose we're maybe sometimes a bit shy, but like the silliest question can lead to a lot more resources, really, information. So yeah, I'm excited for that.
Yeah, it's kind of like any group. If you don't encourage the engagement, it doesn't really happen. If you don't set up a day where people get together, it doesn't really happen. At the moment, I'm the one taking lead, but maybe in the future, you dictate it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Who else? Anybody else feeling anything that they would like to share? Confusion, clarity, intentions for 2022? Kay. Or Kristen. Here we go. There we go. Got it.
Can you hear me?
Hear you perfectly now.
Oh, okay. I just, for 2022, I just want to continue building on the routines that I created from last year, because that's been really, really great. And then I really look forward to all of your topics. Sounds, I'm super excited about that.
Very cool. Yeah, I love that you you picked up new routines, or you had routines that you felt were serving you. And as you and I have discussed several times now, how important those routines are in terms of helping you notice what is serving you and what is not serving you, and to be able to take ownership of that, as a lot of your routines are slightly different than the majority of the people within your community. And to acknowledge that sometimes being different or being a minority can come with challenges. And within those challenges, to realize that there's something there to celebrate, and to realize that you have chosen to do those routines, to be part of that maybe smaller group, or the one that creates a little bit more contrast within your environment. And when you can take ownership of that, there you'll find your power, your health, and you'll feel really good in doing what you're doing. Cool. We have a few more minutes. If anybody has anything else that they would like to share, feel free. I love hearing from you, and I know that the group benefits from it too. Kyle, go ahead.
Hello.
Hi, Kyle.
Yeah, for 2022, I'm working on getting a blog set up, and then I'm planning to post like once monthly. And the first post is actually on about coffee, and I say something in there similar to what you said about meaning, as far as like people being meaning craving creatures. Yeah, so that's something I'm looking forward to in 2022, and yeah, just kind of focusing on like sort of one topic that relates to either community, adventure, movement, or purpose throughout the year, and yeah, to share that with people.
That's wonderful, Kyle, and I love that you're saying that. And actually, that so I don't forget this in the group. in the section under main in the menu where it says meaningful shares, that's a place where you can share, hey, I started a blog, come and check it out. Hey, I'm writing a book. This is the name. This is where I am. This is the framework. If anybody wants a sample chapter, hit me up. I'm working on this routine. It's been so great to do this. Anybody else doing this? In the meaningful shares section, that's a great place to start to express what you're working on. So that's a great place to do that. In meaningful shares, you can also share feedback on what we're doing here and how we're doing things and what you would like to see happen. And in meaningful shares, you can also share what you've experienced. And I was just thinking, Kyle, you and I got together in person last year, and we had our in-person coffee club here in Burlingame, south of San Francisco, and that was awesome. We spent 2 or 3 hours together. So I'm so glad we got to have that, and you got to come home to me, and we got to spend time in a very just intimate way. That's very, very valuable, and it's so cool that you have something now that can be a vehicle for allowing others to do the same with you. So yeah, please share that in that section, and when you have the first blog post up, I would love to read it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Anything else, Kyle, that you're thinking about?
When you were talking about family,
Mm-hmm.
that had some things come up for me there too, just about you talked about going back to kind of the old roles that you had growing up, and I'm reading a book right now called Better Than Perfect by Elizabeth Lombardo, and it's about perfectionism, but it's also about change and how people go about change.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a quote she has about, like, our brains have these well-worn pathways, and in order to make new pathways, at first it might just be like one roll of a wagon through grass. You can't really tell that did anything, but where the wagons went 1,000 times, you can tell where the tracks are. Sorry. And so it's interesting that individually we have our own, like, neural networks that we're trying to change. It can be really hard to navigate in new terrain. And then when we go around family or people that we know, it's hard to it's also hard to try to navigate with them to say, hey, maybe what would it be like to take a new route, maybe play this different role.
Yeah, that's a big one. I love that, and I do hope we can talk about that a little bit. I think I set an example about that in our last coffee club, about how different paths are designed in architecture and design, and how first you allow people to navigate a space naturally, and then you can see where the footprints are, where most people have been walking, and then you build according to people's behavior, and thus designing the most organic and efficient infrastructures. So yeah, I love that, and especially related to neural pathways and behavior. Guy, I think I saw you were unmuted, and I maybe you raised your finger. If so, please jump in. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, no, for me, I'm kind of feeling a little bit of a shift. So the last couple of years maybe has been sort of self-discovery, and I'm feeling a shift towards more exploration. How far can we push things? So that was all.
I love it. Yes, I think that is wonderful to hear, because it tends to be an indication, if you're ready for exploration, it tends to be an indication that your core lifestyle is so safe, so secure, that you have the availability to go out and explore a little further.
Yeah.
Sometimes people go out on exploration out of necessity, but if you've been able to arrive at this place where you can so calmly say this, it sounds like at the core things are secure. Is that accurate, or am I off?
I think that's certainly a development. I think there's still probably some work to do there, but yeah, in terms of where we were when we started talking 18 months ago, yeah, 100%. Yeah, and I raised my finger at the dog who's going mad. But
I see. You and Kyle and the dogs. Amazing. Well, thank you for sharing that, Guy. I really appreciate it. If ever anybody else would like to say something, feel free. Phil, go ahead.
Can you hear me? Because I'm on the bus.
We hear you loud and clear from the bus.
I'm getting off the next stop, but yeah, I think for me, this year is going to be dedicated to going into the unknown, and I think for Sarah as well, because we are both intending to leave the place where we spent most of our lives. And for me, it's because I am actually going to study in Australia, which is like one of the biggest steps I can imagine, because I've been waiting to do this for 2 years now. Because I received a scholarship 2 years ago, and they almost took it away from me again now, because it's only valid until February. And actually only like 4 weeks ago, the university messaged me and saying that students will be allowed again to enter Australia. And now my whole life is shifting and transitioning into something completely new.
Into darkness, like your screen. But I love it. The unknown. The unknown.
The unknown.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm really excited, also afraid, also sad, because I'm leaving my family and my friends and Sarah, and yeah, it's going to be very interesting. And yeah, I didn't really think it would happen still.
Wow.
So it's going to be very, very interesting.
Yeah, it sounds amazing. Yeah, congrats on that. And whatever happens, going into the unknown and moving what seems to be far away, you will clearly not be alone. So know that you are supported, and you have people just a couple of clicks away, at least. Okay. Well, thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for being here on the first Coffee Club. I'll be announcing more soon. I'll be announcing the first lecture soon. I would love for you to share in the meaningful share section or space within the community what you're working on. If any questions are coming up for you, please share those in the Q&A. A question can be as simple as a curiosity. And remember that the answer doesn't necessarily have to come from me. It can come from the community. And once again, wherever the conversation starts to get heated, or where there is some traction, you better believe we will address it in future coffee clubs, and I will weave it into the lectures. And then in terms of extracurricular activities, which are the interface, if you haven't attended the interface, I'm hosting another one on the 22nd of this month. And of course, everybody in this community, I encourage you to go through it, as it is the foundation of all that which we are working on here. Okay, Other than that, much love to everybody. Thank you for being here. Kay, be well. I hope you feel well soon. And everybody else, I encourage you to continue to work on that which you have started and to complete it. Bringing things to completion this year, I believe, is really going to elicit all the changes at the emotional fitness level that we were discussing. And with that, you and I and all of us will be just a little bit healthier, and that extra little health will just feel right. All right. Much love, everybody. Happy New Year. See you soon. Peace.